First, we want to give a recognition to our sponsors, Brian Curl Basketball, maybe the best overall basketball program with the Academy having induction tomorrow. And also Chris Weir from FIT Education. Brian and Chris, thank you guys very much. Now, Stephen, we have a special guest here with us today.
Yeah, we do. We have Dr. William Ellis, often going by the name of Bill Ellis. I have known Billy for an incredible long time, played with in the good old days of the A grade in Las Vegas, and knew of him when he was in his Rocky days. Now, Bill's an interesting character. We're going to talk a little bit about what he does for a living. I think because I find that incredibly interesting, and why he is a doctor. But most importantly, Bill loves his basketball. I would say he's a basketball aficionado.
Oh yeah, historian as well.
Loves it, and like you and me,
Just shut your fridge door, maybe.
And like you and me, loves the game.
Loves it.
Has a good pedigree in coaching as well as playing. So Bill's got an interesting story to tell us today about his involvement and some ideas about where basketball can improve. So, Bill, Doctor.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for having me here. I had no idea how beautiful this studio is. You paint a picture when you're doing the podcast, but it's next level. This is fantastic. This is beautiful.
Yeah, mate. Yeah,
what a great place to work.
Yeah,
this is your work.
This is where a single guy in a wheelchair lives.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic.
So, mate, we're going to get stuck into Billy.
Can I just say that I have coached alongside both of you guys?
Oh, thanks.
So if you start talking any smack, I'm going to reel you in.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm going to reel you in.
Are you going to pull the head coach? You're going to pull the head coach?
Well, I'm just going to reel you in. Before we get stuck straight in, because I wanted Bill on this, because I think the thought that he puts into recruiting, talent identification, what does that mean, right? And some other things that I think our peak body needs to hear, right, that can make us better. But can you just give us, before we jump into this, we don't have any shout-outs today.
I just got a couple quick ones.
We do shout-outs and then the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Then we want a little bit about your coaching history.
Mate, I just want to give a little shout-out to Cairns and the Cairns Association. So been through a tough season. How they have finished is quite remarkable, because it would be easy to lay down, but they sell out their stadium. Their fans are fantastic. Adam Ford, you sit there and go, guys, this job's in trouble, blah, blah, blah. But when you reflect on, yes, they have lost some games by reasonable amounts, but most of their games, they are been in the games. They're rarely flogged. I think that's just his nature. So I want to shout out to them. I also want to shout out to Tatum, the Illawarra coach. And the reason I want to do that is they lost to Cairns. And I don't know if you noticed in the fourth quarter, he kept Froling and Trey Kell off the floor. And I think it was 1-2. Trey Kell was playing some hero ball, and he in a timeout said no hero ball. And he shot an air ball, pulled him off, never put him back on. Could have easily put his star player back on, did not. Froles was probably not having one of his better games, and the big kid that his name just dropped my head. The big kid that comes off the bench,
Gack.
Yeah. The big young kid. He's come from Adelaide.
Oh, Albrecht.
Albrecht. Yes, thank you. He was going well, and I think that to me is a statement without saying one word on the boss here. You please, we're a team. And I think he demonstrated that in the fourth quarter. So I enjoy things like that, because I think, as in the NBA, we've known over the years players have influenced coaching decisions, and I think fuck that. Players, and I read recently, it was what's the famous GM at Miami Heat is
Pat Riley.
yeah. One of the players came in and wanted to get rid of the coach, and he walked downstairs and said, "Don't make it be known. No player walk into my office and tell me who coaches. I make the decision on the coaches, and fuck that's the culture." So, anyway.
Can I get a shout out?
And my last one,
yes.
a real quick one. I wanted to give it to Callum Dalton. That's a tough gig to be invited. No notice, nothing. In next minute, you're defending Taco Bell, who's 7'6", and I actually thought he muscle handled him pretty well. So good job, Callum.
I'd like to give a shout out to Max McKinnon.
Oh yeah,
who scored a career high 43 points for the University of Portland. We all know Max is the son of Hall of Fame legend Sam McKinnon, a good friend of the show and a good friend of ours. That was an exceptional effort that I think is great. I also want to get a shout out to our under-20 Queensland men that I believe the under-20 tournament is starting
pretty soon.
Very soon. Emerson Giraz. Who else do we have in that? Oh, we're Roman. I can't ever pronounce Roman's last name.
Yeah.
Cooper Rawlings.
Yeah.
So we got a few of our Capitals in that team. We wish them all the best. We've been, the last few years, our under-20 men and women both have performed very well.
Yes. Who's the under-20 man coach this year?
That would be Cedar. Chris Cedar.
Yeah.
Not Michael, the younger one.
Okay.
Yeah. Keeping it within Logan. We want to keep, all the coach appointments out of Logan. So we wish him the best. I'm sure he'll do. He was Joel Kalu's assistant the last 2 years, I believe. So it's not like he's coming into this like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, we've got this very special guest.
Yeah.
Bill Ellis is at the helm. There's a couple of things that we want to talk. First, we want to can you give us, your coaching history?
Yeah, look.
Let's start from last gig till now.
Oh.
Or how about your upcoming gig? Working backwards.
Yeah. Look, I think getting people into coaching is quite difficult. To get him to make him step over that line, and one person who was instrumental in getting a lot of people into coaching was a guy called Jerry Lee in Canberra. I don't know if you ever heard. Yeah.
Played against him, coached against him.
So he pulled a strange move in with Wests, the club he coached down there in the local A grade, and if you wanted to play A grade for him, you had to ref a team. And we had something similar going. I was with Ginninderra Rats, and our first time when I hit that level, it was like, well, who are you going to coach? And I coached some, I don't know who they were, a bunch of under 15 or under 14 kids, and I had no idea what I was doing. Still probably don't, but just got so much fun out of it. And over the years, I've been a women's coach. I got into women's coaching in Rockhampton when, Kerrod Marler was head coach at our club, and he said, we don't have a coach for the women's team. And I thought, I'll give that a go. And from then on, I enjoyed coaching women. I enjoy the game. I've seen it evolve massively, the women's game, and we've had some just incredible coaches, women coaches in Australia. Different people who've coached women, who've been innovators, and that's sort of got me involved.
How long ago was that?
So 1986, I think, in Rocky, and probably 84 in Canberra is when I started coaching there. And but after all these years, last year I coached with yourself a group of under 21 guys, and regardless of what happened in the season, I don't think I've enjoyed coaching as much as I did there. Every session I went to, at the end of the session, I was more enthusiastic than at the start of the session. And it
Is
just...
that coaching with the great BP?
Well, whatever it was, we had another guy as well. We had a couple of other people. Mike Hefferon. Love to give that guy a shout out because a leader of people in terms of being a rock for you the whole time, you know, and just the best assistant coach you could ever hope for.
Okay.
Just shit, he was good. How good was he?
He was really good.
Yeah. So prove that, and we wanted him, like, you know, Bruce.
We were hoping that he would have gotten the job in 25.
Yeah, he's a character person, and character in basketball, I think, is super important. And if you can help kids get that along the way, it's probably more important than the X's and the O's. And so yeah, I think over time, as you get older, you get more and more connected to the people you're coaching. You care about them more and more, and it just becomes more and more rewarding. Wins, losses, everything. It's more painful, more fun. So yeah.
Well, and you didn't even go through the fact that NBL 1 assistant coach with the Brisbane Capitals women.
Well, yeah, I coached back in about 95. Interesting story, 94, 95, I can't remember what it was. Our head coach at Brisbane, got headhunted down to Newcastle, and that was Tony Gio, the great super coach Gio. And I took over from him and was putting together a team for the following year. And one of the ways that I approached that was to look at the other clubs and look who I thought should be playing more, who wasn't playing too much. And there was a young girl who I picked up to come here, and the head coach of the Lady Bullets came in and poached her out of my training session. Said, "Gee, that kid's good." You know who that was?
Who was the head coach?
Rick Lawyer?
That was you.
Oh, there you go.
So that was Megan Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah, and didn't she turn out to be a great player
and
fantastic coach?
A really good coach.
Yeah. But, we've got in the women's program some fantastic coaches at CAPS. And down in the youth, when I say down in the youth, because we're the little dogs down there, the youth program, Sally Barney, Lauren McConnell.
Sally Barney, Bundy girl.
Bundy girl, yeah, same. I think she's the same era as Lisa Renouf from up there, who I've seen coaching as well.
Yeah, because I know both their dads. And
Kelly Holt. Kelly Holt, I think her name is. But anyway.
Yes,
and Jackie is another Bundy girl who's done a lot of coaching.
Yeah. So through the women's program, and so I coached Lauren McConnell at under 20s. We won state under 20s. She stayed in the game, captained the Capitals, an amazing player, and now a fantastic coach. And we've got to keep these people in the programs.
Well, I just little shout out to Bundy, of course, because there's also Jenny Honeyman, Jenny Gardner, and she's a Bundy girl, and she's got two amazing sons that are one playing college as well.
How good's Mason going?
Yeah, Mason's great.
I watched him play a couple of weeks ago. He's going to be a really good player.
Yeah.
Now, you were talking about shout-outs for Illawarra and how well Joel Carlu's going down there.
The coach.
Yeah. But what about another Queensland boy who scored some points for Illawarra?
Queensland boy scored some points for Illawarra.
Yep, DP, Kobe McDowell White.
Mate, I coached Kobe when he was in grade 9.
There's a talent.
Yeah, he was, and he was a churchy at that stage, and I remember playing a terrace game, and the terrace had Azar, whatever his name was.
Nazar,
and it was just, he was pretty good at that age, Nazar, but Kobe won the day, and just because he has a very great desire, but he is incredibly quick.
But you've got him, you've got Sean Bairstow floating around, you've got Queensland kids playing at other associations.
Samson
Froling.
Yeah, I just saw where Harry's making a comeback in
NBL 1. Yeah, I don't know which team.
Spartans is the rumour.
That's
Yeah, I think Shane is spot on.
I hope that's a stepping stone to
Getting back in the league would be really good.
The biggest two-man in the league. That guy can shoot the ball.
He can shoot the ball.
Sorry,
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're and that's part of my role.
Can we pivot?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I was going to pivot, but I want to make a point.
Because I just want Billy, because I just love what Billy does for a living outside of his basketball life, which is big time to him. And why I call him doctor, he's got a doctor from Zoology. Is
that's
that correct?
right. Yes, yeah.
See, and
all this time I thought it was proctology.
Yeah. Well,
hey, I can have a go.
Yeah.
He's willing to have a dip.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into that.
And so, Billy, just give, and I love the particular animal that you have devoted your life to. So you want to share that with our listeners?
Yeah. I'm a koala biologist, and I've been working out of University of Queensland for best part of 37 years. There. Different capacities, consulting and contract research, and doing student supervision and just running a bunch of projects.
But looking after like one of Australia's, most
iconic species. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there is nothing like a koala anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
No wombat research?
No, I haven't got into wombat. I worked on bats for a while, but
not wombats.
Not wombats, but bats per se. So yeah. No, it's funny. When I went to Cairns, I was coaching in Cairns. I was working at the zoo up there.
Okay.
And that's what I did while I was coaching the Cairns women's team. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did you start what got you into basketball? Like, I always find that interesting for people.
Now, here's a good story and something that we can touch on about the growth of our sport. So I was sitting at home studying for an exam, listening to the radio, ABC radio in Canberra. I don't know what year this was.
So did you grow up in Canberra?
Grew up in Victoria, New South Wales. My parents lived in Canberra for a while, and then they lived at a place called Bungendore, and so I used to go and shoot on the outdoor court at Bungendore. But anyway, back to the story. On the radio, there was a band called when Ross Wilson left Daddy Cool, right?
Yeah.
The next band that he established was called Mondo Rock.
I remember it vividly.
Anyway, they had an album called Chemistry, and the announcer on the radio said, if anyone can tell me something about this, you'll win 2 free tickets to go see the Canberra Cannons play. So I'm on the phone and gave the answer, and I got 2 free tickets to go see the Canberra Cannons play.
How old were you?
Oh, no, I was probably like 15, 16, something like that.
Did you have long hair?
No.
Okay.
Definitely not. So,
just checking.
Yeah, so I went and I saw, Herb McGeechan playing.
Wow.
And I'm just like, right, I got to join a club. And I joined.
That's pretty late.
Yeah.
To join, and you'd never picked up a basketball at this stage.
No. So I was a swimmer, and there's nothing more boring than being a swimmer. And when you spend half your time training for swimming and the rest of the time training for basketball, it's pretty easy to make a decision between the two. Oh. My son did exactly the same. He went to state high on a swimming scholarship.
Oh shit!
And and that's how it got started. And I played G grade for the Ginninderra Rats, and work. Just sort of each year I'd go and practice every day. You know how kids get. They just get to be nutcases about sport, and it just takes it over, and becomes the most important thing in the world. So
I played with you, and I know you've got sound fundamentals. Who taught you that?
Well, it wasn't until really I got to Rocky and people like Kerrod Marler, said you got to have something other than a bit of athleticism to get along here. We're going to work on your shot. We're going to work on your ball skills, and like at that stage, I'd be playing with the Rockets, and he wouldn't start me at the club games. He's like, no, mate, A, B, C, and D. You got to get that right. And some of the really fundamental things that we don't teach kids that he did teach then were like being smaller people as we are. How do you defend bigger people, like fronting the post, the leg war, all of these little things, and 100% effort to get around. And kids, you tell kids you can get places.
I was watching Delhi defend on the. He was doing everything. He was fronting the post. He was helping. He was trapping when he saw an opportunity. That's when I love mixing the game up. I love playing the game of chess, and I love it when you got players like that can run and jump without the coach calling it. They can trap where they see it going into a big. They probably talked about it in the game, but they know when to do it.
Yeah.
And that's hard to coach against because you don't know when they're going to trap you. You don't know when they're going to run and jump you. You don't know when they're going to mix things up because the players have the IQ to do it themselves, but the effort.
And the will, that's it.
The effort.
Those guys.
People, coaching kids, if you could just encourage that as like that effort, that consistent effort and repetition, all the good stuff will come.
Yeah.
Other than trying to start shooting 3-pointers as soon as you walk in the gym. That's just makes no sense.
We've got a sugar bag of topics we really want to get to with Dr. Ellis. But, mate, both Grace, your daughter and son, are playing U.S. collegiate basketball.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Could you share, because we know now through our youth boys, quite a few of them are looking, what to do.
Yeah.
For an example, I know that Dan George at Brisbane Grammar School really put in a lot of time and effort for Lockie Curtin.
Yep.
Right, sent videos, and he found him a community college, I believe, in Nebraska.
He's in Lincoln, yep.
So, mate, can you help share the listeners, and particularly a lot of the kids and their parents who are looking at the United States collegiate basketball as a pathway?
Yeah, well, I think what everyone needs to be aware of, and not that I'm a guru, my wife is, she was over all of this when we were going through the process, but the landscape is changing, I think, fundamentally over there at the moment. So they're looking at giving kids who go to a JUCO, that while you're at the JUCO...
We get in a lot of trouble for abbreviations, so
junior college.
There we go.
Yep. If you go to a junior college, that's not going to impact your eligibility. So right now, if you're at a junior college...
you can still play 4 years then in college.
That's what they're talking about. You will... So you can play in a junior college and still have 4 years of eligibility out of college.
Div 1 or Div 2 college?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, and I think that's... So we're going to need to take stock here because a lot of kids were very keen to get to... I mean, so many things over there, the one-and-done situation at the really big schools. The kids who come in, they play a year and then they go to the NBA or they become a pro.
Or they play 1 year and go into the lottery now exists. So as a coach, that's changed the landscape.
The whole transfer portal.
So
name, image, and likeness.
Yep. So now there are, like, we have Australian kids who are being offered money to sign at universities over in America.
In brown paper bags?
No, through they're navigating that system for overseas students. But talking about those particular elements of it, there's you talk to people like coaches that we know who are over there about how this impacts the recruitment of like Australian kids, because I don't think they can receive any money while they're in the US. They have to have their feet on the ground in Australia and they can get the money. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but that's another part of the equation. So,
but can they say, because you're allowed to be reimbursed these days, so listeners, I'm sure most of you are aware that colleges have been completely amateur for a very, very, very long time, and massive fines for anyone who got paid. But now it's okay if I am at Gonzaga and I'm a stud and I go on an ad for Bruce Palmer new cars, I can get paid for that.
Yeah, if they use your name, your image, or your likeness,
Or if I speak on a radio show or something.
Yep. So, and how they navigate that, it's I don't know, you know, how exactly how they do it, but I think for kids,
you have to be open about that they've tried this system so that they want people instead of brown paper bags.
Yeah.
Okay. You can get funded for your.
Yeah.
But how do you measure it? Like, how do they get paid? Do they tell the truth?
Yeah, and look, I think a lot of Australian kids, one of the advantages and you know of the US system for us as a basketball player is the free education. You get no HECS debt when you come back.
Yes.
And if that's your goal, you know, and you work through that. You work out what degree you want to do. You find out what schools offer that degree. You find out if they've got any internationals on the program, and you try and make contact. And you go down that path. I think.
See, I think that's. I mean, okay, let's all dream. I'll get to the NBA, but the reality of that is that's not easy.
Yeah.
That is one of the hardest jobs to get into on the planet, right? And I think what college and the American college system offers our players to go over there, this education, the quality of the sports training and the whole structure, because, you know, sport has become a career now. I can manage a stadium, I can be a marketer, or, you know, I can be a sports trainer, and all the different avenues that now come from that. America's been good at that for a fucking long time. Like a college system, you know, people...
It's going through change because you've seen a lot of coaches, right? The guy at Virginia, great coach, won a champ, played out here.
Tony Bennett. Yep.
Krzyzewski.
Yep.
And recently the coach at University of Miami. They just quit.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's too hard.
The nil stuff is too hard. You know, you get a team and you want to... We all know from
Can you
coaching.
explain what nil means?
Name, image, and likeness. So this goes way back to either Ed O'Banion or Charles O'Banion. I think it was Ed O'Banion who played at UCLA. You know, they were using players' name and image for marketing and merchandise. And he said, "Mate, this isn't fair. You know, you go to all these huge games, all your tournaments, your conference tournaments, then the NC2A tournament, the revenue that it produces is significant." And I think it's worse in gridiron. It's much tougher in gridiron. You got 3 times the number of players on scholarship, and they're all looking to get paid. I mean, at the really big schools. Now, my alma mater, University of Pacific, they don't pay anybody.
Yeah.
Right? And they're always a 500 team or worse. But I want to know, so you took, I'm not as familiar with Gracie as I am with Jimmy, but did you take Jimmy to any of those AAU tournaments?
Interestingly, I did. I took him down. There was one down in Melbourne that...
Down.
Yeah. I got asked to coach a team down there. I took him and Jordan Papakostas and, you know...
So COVID knocked that out. I don't know if they're still doing that.
Well, I think they've kicked it off again here, but my take on that was that it was a very limited value, that.
Yes, thank you. I want to talk a little bit about AAU. I mean, they just had a tournament at Wizards. Yeah.
But I look, and it's just an opinion, I'd have to look at it. But having said that, we also, James did go with a recruiting company, and not that you guys like giving anyone a shout out, but,
shout out anyone who does good shit.
Triplets' dad, Scorcher, Triplet, who played up here at Logan last year. I think it's from Melbourne, right?
Yeah.
He took a team with Recruiting Boost, and they went over and played in some tournament somewhere, and they got some film and got them a profile and that. And so we did do that because, Jim, he just always said he's one of these it's amazing some of these kids. Like he didn't like single-sex schools. He was over at a school over at Ambrose Tracy, which is a good school, and you know where Lyndon is head of basketball, and Jim was just like didn't really feel like he fit in, and he said, I want to go to State High, and I never realised he was quite bright, and I'm like, you're going to have to do something. So anyway, he was like state 100-metre butterfly or something, you know, he was doing stuff like crazy stuff, and he got into State High, and the same thing, he said, I really want to go to college, I want to get into college, and so, you know, I played with a recruiter, you know, I'll give him a shout out, Mike Moore, you might have played against him in, he played in Rockhampton, he's a recruit, he runs a thing called Orange County Pride.
Yep.
And I spoke to him about how do you navigate
Where's he
this
based?
landscape. In LA somewhere.
Okay.
Anyway.
Orange County.
Orange County, is it? Yeah. And
Better known for Newport Beach.
okay. Yeah.
If you were there, mate, the bitches, the sun, the tan,
Do you think
you would be killing it, man.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, fat guys in a wheelchair with bilateral cocklers is really hot right now in New York. Do you not know that?
Well, since the fires in LA.
Yeah, just get your wallet out.
So that's where, because people are even tattooing cocklers on their head, you know. So just
I didn't like that look.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe you.
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah,
No,
so-
nothing about me. We don't want to then talk about.
No.
Yeah.
But the thing was that, you know, he sent emails to, I think he decided that like the RMAC was probably,
An acronym for
that's the Rocky Mountain Athletic
conference. Yeah.
Conference, because fellas like, so Mitch McCarron, Worthington, Nick Kay, they all, Dan George, they all went to
Denver Metropolitan.
Nelson Carla up the coast, he went to Mesa or Pueblo, one of the other schools there, and a lot of kids, you know, came out with good degrees. You know,
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I follow, I don't know what it's even called, but there's a thing on Instagram that always updating boys and girls who've had a good game, you know, like
yeah, pick and roll follows them.
and it's just incredible the amount of kids that are out there. But I look at these things, that's fantastic from a basketball perspective, but that's a life-changing opportunity. It is life-changing.
Well,
I mean, I was fortunate. I went to high school in the US for grade 12, and that was life-changing for me, this little kid out of Bundaberg, you know, in 1985 and 86. You know, this was unheard of. But now the doors are now open to international students going to college. Yeah? But I just think the opportunity for the crowd, the support from the schools of the games, and it's semi-professional, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter where you're at.
So you were, when you did that, you had to go through an exchange program.
So
right?
in those days, you could only do Rotary Exchange, it was
Right.
called, and that meant if you signed up for Rotary Exchange, you'd go to where they told you to go.
Wherever they tell you don't have a choice.
Well, I actually had a basketball coach in a little town called Toledo between Portland and Seattle, Bill Backamus, and Billy had come out and been Bundaberg's very first ever American import for a little league, Rocky, you know, Bundy, Maryborough, blah, blah, blah. And he and I just hit on. I was only 15, and he said, hey, come live with me. We had to jump through so many hoops
Yeah.
for me to be able to do that. I wasn't allowed to play varsity, but I would play, I played in the local men's city league with Billy. You know, I trained with the varsity team every day.
So
I
there
went
would have been a lot of injuries on the varsity, the players getting low bruised.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Floor burn.
Billy nicknamed me Pig Dog, and that's where I got that nickname, is because he saw an Australian pig dog cross the road when he was in Bundaberg, and he said, "What is that?" And I said, "That's a pig dog," and he said, "That's you." So I think that's a compliment.
That's a compliment.
wow.
But I think these are things, and I see, and there's a host Tomlinson runs one.
Yep.
Jordan Mullen's doing something, because I see on social media when he places a kid.
You got Dan Murphy, Jonathan Mines, Sydney's
Mines,
son.
yeah.
You got AUSA and there's various places, but
Basketball Australia.
Basketball Australia pathways, yeah. So there's lots
But
of
it
people.
costs money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of, you could be spending money and that goes nowhere. So you were trying lots of things. You did go to AAU. You were trying different ways to how do I get identified?
Yeah.
And I guess that's a good thing to tell parents out there that and coaches that there's a lot of effort to get to college in the US, correct?
There is, and there's some real pitfalls in the way some of the recruiting groups set their programs up, where they want to take really good kids to tournaments in the States. So sometimes the not so good kids are sort of funding the better elements of the program, or that's how it appears to me. I don't want to get sued by anyone, but
so they get a couple of good kids that they think they can play, so then they charge other kids a fortune to go on the trip.
Yeah, but the thing is, they need to get eyes on the court. So that is their rationale. Like, no one's going to come and watch all of those kids. So by supporting some better kids to come, they're going to get eyes on the court. They're going to get people to come and watch.
My thing and I tell these kids, I'm going to go play AAU at this. I go, what college coaches are going to be there?
Absolutely.
Because you go there and it's a meat market and you're playing a number of games in a day.
Yeah.
And this is one of the complaints that coaches are saying we're getting, which is Australia. We play more than we practice.
Yeah.
And man, my only advice to those who are doing that, find out which coaches from which schools are going to be watching. Because there's only windows that they can do this.
Well, but this is like talking about, Dan Murphy. He set up something, and Grace went to it when she was in grade 11 or something. He set up something where he must have had like 15 US coaches came to Australia, and he put on a showcase. And I remember turning up there and seeing those different coaches there, and for sure we got some contacts through that.
From that.
Yeah. That was with Grace. But with James,
where's Grace at, and what year is she in now?
So she's in her last year. She'll be home in May.
Okay.
She's now at Cleveland, but she went to Wyoming. Great setup there. She really liked it there, but small. It's a small town. 35,000 people, and 15,000 of them are students. They got a 35,000 seat football stadium that they fill.
Yes.
I'm like, how the hell do you do that?
Well, that's a whole nother story. Is how a lot of American towns are built around the college.
Oh, sure.
Because everything about the college supports people's jobs, employment,
Yeah.
and then obviously they support their sporting teams. It's not only the town; it's also the surrounding district, and that's like their Brisbane Broncos. That's like their Brisbane Bullets. That's their team, right?
Yeah. And that's at elevation. I've played there in
that's
Wyoming.
7220. But like, she turned up there, 7,220 feet. They remind you all the time. I was there with James one time. I said, we'll go and shoot around, and after like 10 minutes, he's suffering.
There's no oxygen. Yeah.
But they get like 2,000 people to a women's game, to her games,
That's
regular
awesome.
games. They won their first ever tournament, the Mountain West tournament, with her, and she went off to the NCAA, the big dance, as they call it. So she had a great time there, but really remote and very, not particularly diverse and challenging, and it's one part of the US. And she said, look, I really need
Something different.
something, a bit of a change. So she's in Cleveland now, at Cleveland State.
Big place.
Yeah, and she loves it. It's food, it's people. She goes, sees bands. She's studying. She's doing mechanical engineering, and she's got, computer science engineers. There's 5 or 6 of them. Their GPA is through the roof. they're great kids. They're really diverse backgrounds. You go there and you go, right, that's how, that's kind of how I expect America. Not that it's right or wrong.
But are you hearing what he's talking about?
Yes, I am.
A lifestyle, career, contacts.
Yep.
This is what this is all about. He's not talking about the WNBA or the NBA. Like, if your kid's good enough, great. But the chances are fucking remote.
Yeah.
But you could come back and play in the NBL, WNBL, play NBL 1.
Mm-hmm.
There's the opportunities, but you're talking about something for Grace that is going to change her life and come away with this amazing degree. I think it's just fantastic.
I think another thing, and I always mention this to parents, that there's a really great chance that your son or daughter is going to meet their life partner, right?
Yeah.
This is a discussion I had with Aaron Honeyman.
Yeah.
Hopefully he finds a young love, and they fall in love, and she's really wealthy, and her parents really like Australia.
Yeah.
Right? They want to come back and live here and not.
And you supply him with at least a year's supply of condoms.
At least. And but it is something to consider, and I've seen many Australians go over there and fall in love, get married, and they end up living in the United States.
Well, let's talk about some of the Australian coaches that are there at the moment. So you've got...
Well, there's a few there, yeah. So I was really hoping when it comes to talking about the recruiting process. So this guy, Graham Fall, is a good friend of mine. He's coaching at Portland State.
Yep.
And he came out when I was coaching with the NBL 1 and wanted to come and have a look at the kids who were playing youth. Said, what do you got in your 15s and 16s who aren't going to be over there for a couple of years? And we ended up, he took 2 Brisbane kids, an Ipswich girl, and then he took a Brisbane a girl, Cara Deneen from Wizards, who unfortunately hurt her knee. But Iris Cubit was all conference for him. She, I think, was close to that as well. Just really unlucky. And now he's recruited Kaylee Field, who's one of our, juniors, who he met at a training session as an under 15.
Wow.
And now she's got a bit of pig dog in her. And
I hope that means effort, not the appearance.
Absolutely. This is a kid who, first time I saw her as like under 15, she was playing GBL or something she probably shouldn't have been playing, but she's diving on the floor, diving on every ball, does not care who she defends. And I said this kid, she could be good. I hope she's really good for him. I hope she has a good time, because the other thing to bear in mind when we're talking about this and meet your life partner and have a great time, when Jim got recruited, we were down visiting Tommy Lloyd.
Okay.
And Tommy...
He was at Gonzaga at the time?
No, he was down at Arizona.
Okay.
And...
I would call the Arizona up.
Up?
Yeah, anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So he's down at Tucson. And Tommy said to him, this is going to be really hard. And we forget, and you forget probably, when you went over with Billy, I mean, were there any nights where you just cried yourself to sleep because you're missing home?
No.
Well,
I did miss my parents, but I didn't cry myself to sleep. You remember I was 16, living with 23-year-old, they were my parents, Bill and Kathy, and they had come to Australia when I was a 15-year-old playing in the open men's, going to Rocky on a bus and driving home, drinking on the bus with my mother in the bus.
Right.
And so... Yeah, I had a pretty good time with my mum and dad, who are still very much my American mum and dad.
But it can be really hard, and some kids go over there and don't play. Like one of my friends,
and lonely. You can get lonely because you think everyone's going to be your best mate, but they've all got their friends But there's a lot to think about, right?
I mean, that's the thing. Like Jim really. He's really made some good friends there, and he's doing really well at school.
Academically, what's he studying?
He's doing mechanical engineering as well.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. He's a bit out of the rotation at the moment, so that's a bit of a challenge for him, He started about 10 games as a freshman and he was going very well, injured his ankle, and just hasn't managed to
Get back
into the situation. And this happens, and it's not unusual. And
It happens in the NBL and
Yeah.
NBA. Like,
you don't get mum and dad screaming from the sideline and abusing the coach. It's like, this is life, mate. Just, buckle up,
it's
work
that,
hard.
It's that lessons in life that I'm a massive fan of. Again, here's people that go through sporting, and I mean, I've worked outside when I was a teacher, but I've worked in sales. I think that sales, business development world, and sports people are built for that because it's fucking hard, and you've got to have a bit of mongrel in you, which sports people do. That means, but they can also handle how to lose.
They handle adversity.
Yeah, and I've worked with so many people over the years, and things don't go their way. They throw the toys out of their cot, And I think sports people are good. And like I said, Jimmy's facing that at the moment, right?
Well, it's one of the things that Bruce talks about a lot is resilience in people on the court and that. And we maybe don't have as much of that in because we have so many teams, so many places you can go and play. So many things.
Everyone gets a trophy.
That's it.
That's what AAU's about. Everyone gets the beautiful uniform, and I guess I'm a bit critical of it because I've heard it talked about in the US by some coaches that I trust and value, and they're not particularly complimentary of it,
So this comes to one of the points I thought I was interested in talking to you guys about. If I get down there to the state championships, and I see everyone posting, state champions,
under 18, Division 8.
Yeah, and I think
I nearly fell off my chair. Division 8.
Yeah, and I'm like, I loved it when, I really hated it when our boys lost the final of 18s, but the Southern Districts boys won and posted champions, and I'm like, yeah, you guys are the champions. It's like, it's now become a big tournament for everyone, and when we've got kids who come up and trial, and it's like, what do you do? Oh yeah, I played state. I was at state champions, and you look at them and you go, how? And we're giving him a false idea of
how good they are.
Yeah.
And this is, I guess we're trying to talk about going to college, is that if your kid is in under 18, Division 8, I'm telling you now, you are a very long way. And why? I mean, I have no problem with kids playing for fun. That's what associations are for. And tournaments, which I'd like to get to a little bit, chat to you about, because I think you're an aficionado of Australian carnivals. But yeah, right. That whole. I think that's just money grabbing by.
Well, that's what it appears to be when you have that many people, and it's a good opportunity if they're doing this for referee training and education.
But that's a lot of money for people to pay just to.
Oh man, it is a lot of money. I mean, if you're going down, they hosted these on the Gold Coast, which now in Queensland's the only place with venues. They're halfway decent. There's not another city in Queensland that's got the facilities that the Gold Coast has.
10-court stadium or whatever they've got. It's fantastic.
They got a couple of them.
One at Dreamworld, and they've got Carrara.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
They've got
And
two
their
big
schools
ones.
are all, like the Southport School, their facilities are exceptional in all sports, but definitely basketball.
Yep.
That's a really good point. I think a lot of these points that we have spoken about previous to doing the show, you have up here WNBL. Align that with the NBL. What do you mean?
Yeah, look, so it bothers me that I know basketball is going well. I mean, I feel like we've got this incredible product. Basketball is just the best sport that has ever been invented.
And it's on TV.
It's made for TV.
12 months a year.
Yeah.
Europe, US,
it's such
college, our own leagues.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
So many different styles, so many
3-on-3 competitions now.
It's just
like unreal.
everything.
NBA's looking to set up a competition of the EuroLeague, another league in Europe.
Yeah. So I just feel like we're not digging hard enough to keep the sport growing every way that it should be growing. Like in the 80s and 90s here, when we were filling Boondall, it was everything was supercharged, right? And I feel like now, and the WNBL, I'm disappointed at the quality of coverage, trying to find the games on TV and when they're being shown, and then even the video quality. And so yesterday, one of my friends showed me a screenshot she took while watching a game, or someone took anyway, it might have been her. She sent it to me, and on the screenshot, there's Annalie Maley shooting a free throw. Underneath her, it's got Jade Melbourne and Jade Melbourne's stats in another great player, and the picture is a picture of Kayla George. And I'm like,
They didn't do their research, Stevie boy.
Is this a piss take or is this for real? It's like, so yeah, really, I think, and Justin Schuller said this when I heard him talk when he first came to Brisbane, and he said, if we really want to get Brisbane people behind the bullets, it wouldn't hurt to have a women's program, because half the people who like basketball
are female,
and all the people who take their kids to junior sport
are mums.
are mums.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't we realise that every other sporting code is trying to, cut our grass here? They're trying to take them away. So we've got to do something with that. And look, hats off to Larry for keeping the NBL afloat. But I think we can do better with the WNBL. So,
well, I think when you look at the women's rugby league and the women's AFL, and I guess the women's sevens rugby also, we've got some work to do.
Well,
and we're actually better internationally than all those coaches.
Well, we started ahead of them. We started with men and women's national championships when we were kids, when we were younger.
Yeah.
And now, they're just catching up. And, I don't want them to just roll over the top of us. And that brings me on to, that next point of, I think they're identifying the talent that we want in both men and women. I think the other codes are ahead of us in talent ID, and they're stealing our talent.
Yeah, well, I don't know what we have in basketball, but I know all those codes go look for kids younger in other sports and encouraging them to play.
Well, the AFL, even up here, the QFL, when my youngest son Jay was playing under 14s, and he's the same age as the kid playing now with the Gold Coast. I'm sorry, playing with New Zealand, Mitch McCarron.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Same exact era.
Yeah.
They were coming down and watching Mitch McCarron play. We had a kid who was a swimmer at Marist, a tall kid. They came inside because I was talking to mom and dad. The kid, he's playing all sports, which he should do.
Yes.
And he was an accomplished swimmer. Had a scholarship at Marist for swimming. And they came and signed him up. Here's your boots. Go to this place, pick up your boot, all the gear, anything you needed, all your registrations paid for. Whereas basketball, it costs a lot of money, mate. I mean, the better you are, the more it costs.
Yeah, because you've got to pay for everything.
You got to pay for everything.
Yep.
And this is where...
there's like you do a development camp, it's a $500 nomination, and then you've got to pay accommodate, so you've paid an amount, which is paying for all the coaches to be there. But should that be coming off registrations, development, there must be a certain percentage of registrations for everyone rather than hitting up, because there'd be some families that can't afford it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, if they're going away to the under-20s, it's being played in Ballarat, I believe, or is it Bendigo? I think it's Ballarat.
Yeah, I think so.
That's $5,000. you're going to have to pay, mom and dad are going to have to pay the better part of $5,000 because it's all, what do they call, rationalized. So people from WA, everybody pays the same amount.
Yeah.
And there's no getting around it, and it's a very good tournament. I want to get on to something, Bill, that we've had a lot of talk about is talent identification. What is it? And when we talk about now player development, we had a thing at the academy, so our point guards needed this skill set. Now that becomes their development plan. 2s and 3s need this skill set. 4s and 5s need this. And that kind of helped coaches who don't have your coaching background. They don't have your expertise about now everything that you're doing here in these individual small group sessions. Is it helping develop this? And I had a really interesting, I'm going to drop a name now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
David Claxton. So I was playing golf with the Clacker.
Oh.
And who, by
You
the
would
way,
have said hello for him from me.
first thing I did, man.
Thanks.
And that kind of, there's tension right away. Either way, he was like, how do we develop kids making reads, playing off ball screens, right? And he's passionate. And another guy, in my opinion, that our peak body overlooks. He's 80 years old. He's got jam. He walks the golf course. Kicked all of our rear ends, Brian Allen and Rob Scheibner and I. But he still wants to help, right? He still takes great pride in developing players.
Was Clacker 80?
He's 80.
Get the flying fox out of here.
Correct weight. Can go. Good
Yeah.
golfer. And a very good coach, who's always, it seems...
And he's never stopped.
It seems like here at BQ, you put your hand up, mate, if there's anything I can do to help, it's almost like, mate, make a point not to call you. And that's been, you look down there, they've got Brian Allen, Dave Claxton, Salo Green, they got Adam Dara, they got Scotty McGregor.
They got Bradkey now.
They got Bradkey down there now.
Yeah, Johnny Zaghetti.
Johnny Zaghetti, exactly right. They had in the
Greg
off season. Exactly, Greg Fox. And I think Foxy's, I don't know what the relationship there is with the North Gold Coast Seahawks.
Yeah, it's got a bit nasty there.
It's
right?
gotten a bit, it always ends up with personalities. But, mate, when we are doing this, and the challenges that we have as coaches is, again, we practice twice a week, 90 minutes. There's just no courts, right? And obviously this court space, you make your money off games. If you're running an association, your expertise should be in managing, coordinating competitions.
Yes.
Right? So what is it that you look at? Let's go by point guard first. What are you looking at when you identify point guard skills?
Well, I mean, I guess at the root of the problem is what do you class as talent? And one of the problems we have is there's so many different styles, so many different ways to skin a cat. People can play point in a range of different ways. What I'm saying is we don't have a formula that we can put kids into, and what I'm talking about is some kind of a randomised testing schedule, and this is what we did last year with shooting. So I think now that the Institute is getting on board with doing some of the shooting testing that we did to look at all those elements of someone's shot and work out who is doing it correctly and how does that convert to performing in games. So we don't do that, and it's like I think if you're under 16 state or something, I would put them all through that. I would look at kids' arc, I would look at the repeatability of their shot mechanics. Now, all of that can be worked on and improved, but if you're looking at the best kid at the time, pick a kid that you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time putting that in.
Yeah.
Dribbling and passing are things that we can test. We can, and they do it in soccer, and they do it in AFL. They do it really
we're
well.
doing that at the academy. We have shooting, obviously, if you can't shoot,
Play
Right.
hockey.
play hockey,
Yeah.
soccer,
Yeah.
rock wall climbing.
Yeah.
It's good for non-shooters.
Yeah.
But also passing, right? Now you can't. I know the Houston Rockets had a great thing. It was like a triangular. The lights, you have to be able to see all 3 points. And when a light would go on, you had to go touch it. So you're working on peripheral vision, hand, eye,
Yeah.
right? And quick reactions. But passing, so stationary to a stationary target, we'll just put targets up on the Besser brick wall there at districts. And we'll see how many you hit out of 10 attempts.
So we're really looking at physical attributes or of these different athletes in these different positions, but the game's also changed a bit in that five man shoots threes now.
Yeah.
Like they didn't.
Sure.
We used to play 3 out, 2 in, and
I think you got your skills, right, and your fundamentals that you want to be highly proficient at. And now you got character.
well, the character is what I love looking at, and it depends what age group are you looking at, under 12, under 14, under 16 or 18. But for a point guard, for me, is I want the kid that wants the ball in his hand. He just has a natural instinct to go
Goes
get
and
the
gets
ball.
it.
Goes and gets it.
Yeah.
And he's the one that's saying, hey, it's a sideline out of bounds. We're running 3. We're running. He's the kid, or she's the kid that just takes that leadership. And you see it all the time. There's the kid that just puts their hand up, and there's something about them that's different to everyone else.
They understand it for point guard, but you want all your players to know this. Time and score,
Correct.
foul count,
Correct.
who's got the hot hand,
Yeah.
who's the defensive liability. You want them to be able to process this, and that's what we as coaches are here
But
to help them.
as they get older, it's that Deladova mentality: when to trap, when to run and jump.
Yeah.
To instinctively have the confidence in that person to make a call on the run. As they get older, you as a coach, you don't want to be coaching juniors and running every play. You want a kid to start learning how to read what's in front of him.
Yeah, and I think so. Like what you're talking about, what Houston's doing. So I introduced you to my good friend Professor Robbie Wilson at University of Queensland, and he does talent ID in Brazil for some of the big soccer clubs there.
Wow.
He goes and he tests the kids who are coming through.
So he doesn't look at them playing. He's looking at their physical attributes.
Well, it's skill and decision making, the two things, skill and decision making.
Okay.
Because it's interesting that the AFL in Australia still has its draft combine, right? Where it's all athleticism. They put them through a whole bunch of who can jump the highest, run the furthest.
Yeah.
Now, after analysing that for 20 years, they've worked out that your result at the AFL draft combine accounts for about 3% in the difference, 3% of the difference in number of games played. In other words, it makes a bee's dick of a difference. And a really good example of why this counts is, so we had a good young basketball player here in Brisbane. His mum played for the Opals, and his dad played for the Brisbane Bears, the Lions here.
You're talking about Fletch.
Talking about Jasper Fletcher.
Yeah.
Now,
He could play basketball.
yeah. So he's been stolen from us.
Well, it's pretty hard. I mean, his dad won over the mum, but the mum could play.
Yeah. But anyway, Adrian, when he was tested, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me spilling the beans on this, he was not a gift. I'm going to say he was not a gifted athlete, but he could find the ball. He could get the ball, and he could get it where it needed to be. He was like, the guys at UQ were like, it's kind of like, what's this guy doing playing an elite sport? Well, he was an elite footballer. That's a kid that...
It's a hard one to measure when there's people, male, female, who just they just get the ball, like the kid at Illawarra.
Craig Lambert.
Yeah, they just, you know,
Yeah.
rugby league players, the guys that they're just there when someone needs to make a tackle, like they just haven't conveniently been there. They dawn that extra effort to be somewhere to stop a play or make a tackle that no one else can.
So getting back to my point, I bet that if you got Jasper Fletcher as a 14-year-old kid and put him through skill and decision-making tests, someone would have said, hey, this kid's elite, because he's obviously elite. And maybe we would have gone, how do we make him enjoy the sport of basketball more than the sport of football? Now, that would have been a challenge.
That would have been a challenge. And Fletcher's, I know Fletch quite well, and I actually, when Jasper was like 10 or 11 or something, I can't remember, we were one of the Marshalls or one of the Marshall boys, I think.
Yeah.
We just did a basketball session at Terrace, and he was very good.
Yeah.
He was very good. But
so, that's what I'm talking about. Talent ID, we need some really good metrics. We need to be testing not just who's the biggest and the fastest when they're 14 and 15. If you look at our, even our, junior rep programs, we've got a lot of kids who maybe aren't going to grow much more. And right now they're dominating. And, I made some suggestions out of that course that we did, that at some of these junior, state championships and things, maybe we don't look so much at the score, and we look at the kids and we make sure that every kid that goes there plays, and we measure them on some other metrics.
It's just going to be about impossible, because people in clubland who want to be a rep coach, and they're the ones that have coach on the back of their shirt, because you need to make sure everyone knows. Just remind, I'm the coach. They're those people that, and God love them, we need them in the game to coach and be involved in associations and run them and volunteer. But it's sometimes, if you just hang around long enough, you end up getting a team in a state championship or something. But that doesn't make you a great coach.
But and again, I'm dropping Dave Claxton's name. I was asking, mate, do you know? So again, we're talking about point guard. What's BQs? What's their saying? What are they saying? What skill sets they need to have, both in fundamental basketball skills and in character? Nobody knows. I don't know. Bill, you would know.
Yeah, well, not really.
No, and I don't think, should this be secret?
I love that nobody knows. That's like the guy on that Saturday Night Live,
Nobody knows.
Yeah, what's in... but hot dogs are not made of dogs.
That's right.
What are they made of, sir? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. But it should be something that because I know when you go to apply to coach a state team, and I've done it 4 times with our under-20s in Queensland. It was about, you got our style of play. And I'm like, man, I don't know what that is. I have no clue what your style of, we play pack line. Well, at that time, I'm not. You hired me.
And I've never taught it before.
I've never taught pack line. So who's the expert on the assistant coaches? I had Peter Crawford and Marta Didek. Yeah. They don't know either.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then we're not doing that. We're going no middle, no paint.
Yeah.
I don't want to, guys, show me how you've been taught how to defend a side pick and roll.
Who's made the decision?
Well, at that time, it was Leonard King had just left, and Mel Downer had assumed his responsibilities before she was going to leave. And now you've got, so that's a spinning top. We've had Warwick Han, kind of, and then his son, Luke Han, was like, I guess you would call that.
But what I'm asking for a very large group of associations. There's a lot.
Correct.
Right. Who's making the decision that we're going to run from our state teams pack? Now, you and I ran pack for one of our years, for the first time we did it, and I like it, but is it for everyone? And no. And maybe not for every team either. You've got to have a certain they've got to have a certain decision-making ability, like which side am I closing out on? Like, people don't understand. And then it's not only the closeout, the long closeout, on which side am I pushing this person to?
Yeah.
Is that the next layer of the defence? Do they understand what's happening now?
Well, it would make sense if the kids that we did select
Had
or
already
that
been
were being considered
exposed.
that they know pack line.
Yeah.
They don't.
No, they don't.
So if that's going to be our, and again, it may have changed because I just don't know. I'd like to know, because when I was working with the Caps and I was in that senior program stuff, I'd like to be able to pass on to our under 18 coaches, hey mate, this is the Queensland style of play. We're going to be helping our kids for, making an under 18 Queensland state team if they are familiar with this.
But the only way you find out is do people go to, because I haven't, they go to basketball Queensland camps or something and learn their principles?
When BQ runs the coaching clinics, you do your level 2, your level 1 and your level 2, they talk about what the Queensland style of play is, to an extent. Like we were very much running, the last time I went through it, running basically Lamanis' style of play. What he was doing with the,
you're running flow on offense.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So, and I think you can just run anything on offense.
Well, here's one thing I won't do, and they were tagging up. Because, mate, all you do, if Steve shoots, I go by and contest and take off.
Yeah.
You're screwed. And I brought this up. Can I drop another name?
Yeah.
Brian Gorgin.
Yeah.
I go, Brian, what do you think it takes? You can't do it, mate. It doesn't. You can't for that very reason. And Jackie Brown, good coach, she was going through it all, and I was sitting with Jackie Lear, and I was sitting with Jake Allen, Brian Allen's. And I go, mate, just contest and go. How do you defend that? And he's like, you can't. So I don't want to give up one layup in transition. And, so we went away. I'm sorry, I'm not tagging up. We tried to do it. Remember, tag up. You got the guy who's ever there. And sure enough, one guy just contests and takes off, and he's got a layup. Because, I don't want to throw my shooter off to think, oh, God, he's going to run by me. I got to, get back there. And it affects the shot.
Guess what? They miss 60% of their three-point shots.
Yeah.
The very best shooters.
My
Right?
point is...
What's got to happen to the rebound? It's got to go long from a three-point range most times.
Yeah.
So we've had someone. I just don't understand it.
I don't either, and it doesn't. It's flawed.
Yeah.
It's really good if you're going to hump the
But again,
offensive
who
glass.
Where have they gone? Do they have a QBI think tank and come up with their strategy, or do you get what I mean? Surely, if there's a new head of QBI, they would have to. Like companies, every year we look at our strategies and we have a 1-2 year, 5-year plan or whatever, right? But you're constantly changing. You're constantly evaluating. Is Queensland basketball doing that, or are we still doing what Leonard King put in place?
Well, I think first Peter Lonergan. He's our national high performance guy, director of coaching.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, and he sends out a lot of material.
He sends out stuff that I asked him, mate, can I get this, because I like my, umbrella, my colleagues in coaching to get, because it comes to BQ and then you never see it. Right, they're holding it to their chest, like, mate, this is, if you want more kids, instead of going in and now we're going to start getting them at under 14, right? The future stars thing is like, get out of their wallets. Put this back on the club coaches, right? Let them develop, like we have Murray Aldred as our, director of coaching, if you will. He'll disseminate, right? And he understands the concepts and can teach.
But that's up to Queensland Basketball to understand how to get that information out to the coach at a club team, right?
Correct.
And they need to coordinate with their members who are paying their wages, right? So, look, you're opening a can of worms here. You're opening a can of worms because, again, quality of people wanting to work at Queensland basketball, and
It's a spinning top.
yeah, but you're not necessarily getting the top of the tree.
And they don't seem to last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, overworked, underloved, underpaid.
Can we pivot? Yeah, pivot. So let's get on to something else more exciting.
How about NBL 1? I know you have some thoughts on it.
I think it's a great product. I've always felt like, especially, Queensland's a big state. We can have Cairns, Townsville, Brisbane National League teams, but Bundaberg and Rockhampton and Mackay and that, it's a long way to go to watch it. And NBL 1 is a great product, but I was really disappointed this year that NBL 1 North, we've got a kind of short season. Some associations didn't want to, have a full home and away schedule. And I feel like we're going backwards. And I think it's probably time for everyone to sit down and go, well, what's the real point of NBL 1 and how do we make it relevant to every association up and down? We need to get Bundy back into it, Have they fixed up that stadium, or is it still that shithole that we used to play in? Yeah. So
they've got, they're playing. They played in QSL too, and they made a final.
Yeah. So
Mickey Catlin up there is trying to reach out to me. He's trying to get some old players to come and do a bit of history stuff there.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. That's Steve's. Are they brothers? Are they brothers? Or Mick and Steve Catlin. Steve's a great guy. It's doing a good job trying really hard with the ex-players at the Bullets.
The Bullets.
I can't remember if they're brothers or they're cousins. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But they
I would say cousins.
Well, Mick was
I apologise, Michael and Steve, because I should know that.
But I think that currently the point system, it's we've got people who are paying people to come in and play, and that's costing associations a lot of money and creating an imbalance. I don't mind having a point system, but reward the young kids like in your association.
Point system? Explain that.
So at the moment, the NBL 1 has a point system where you start with, if you've got like 12 on your roster or something, you got 32 points, and then for every player you add, you get another point. So you have 15, and your local juniors are kind of worth 1 point or hardly any points, and your internationals and NBL players are worth 10 points. So if you can afford to get those internationals and NBL players to come and play NBL 1 for you, you spend your 30 points.
So if you go over the points, what happens?
Well, you're not allowed to. You'll lose a game if you...
What? And has that happened yet?
There's been situations...
Well, last year, not with points and not in NBL 1, but QSL, an association played 2 ineligible players in the opening game.
And why were they ineligible?
One was an import, right?
Right.
And that's fine, but you still have to be registered.
Yeah.
Right with your association. The other player was never cleared from the Brisbane Capitals.
Right.
Now, hey mate, these guys, there's no clearance. They shouldn't have played. And both played a significant role in beating us, the Capitals. The guy said, well, we're going to let it stand because we think our rules weren't clear. That's unacceptable, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, not now. You're just becoming aware of this now, that we bring it to your attention. That should have been addressed well before the season started, right? And I'd like to keep going on. So, I mean, it happens, mate. And every week what happens, because no 2 teams are registered on the same day, everybody's done individually, that it becomes every day, right? You're getting emails from Basketball Queensland about
transfers and stuff,
registrations, right? Because it'd be too simple that you say Brisbane Basketball Incorporated, all of your registrations are due on this date. Southern districts are all do. No, it's everybody, every man for himself. And you have to go through there. And this is where our rep support guy, and this is what I used to do. You sit around, you got emails, you got to forward these to the coaches and managers and the players to let them know if you're not registered, you won't be playing this week, right? You just can't, because it should be a forfeit, like it should have been for
that game.
Yeah, but it wasn't. But
Yeah.
I like this, and what has happened. Here's another thing, and don't take it as an insult, BQ, but you can't manage a competition where one year you have 14 teams, the following year you have 10, right?
It's hard for the associations to prepare for that, because that's 4 home games that I would normally get income from to help pay for my
Well,
team.
this would make it real simple, home and away. The challenge would be, and I guess we'd all have to chip in more money, Cairns and Townsville are going to have to make 3 trips.
Yeah.
Or play 3 games, or play a midweek game, take a week off and come down and play every day.
It's like they don't, like, I don't know, I've never been involved in applying for an NBL1 team, but surely Queensland must be able to give each association a formula of this is what it costs to play in this league. This is, okay, can we help the local association out saying you need to have X amount of money from corporate sponsors, you need to have crowds of this size paying $10 a ticket. Break it down and help, because you're a full-time association. Sometimes the Bundy associations, they're run by volunteers. They'll have maybe 1 or 2 administrators who are...
Well, and I think that's one of the criteria. The team on the sunny coast, Caboolture, I don't know who the hell that was.
Rip's out now. Yeah.
Rip City.
Rip City, they're out.
Out.
But the team that was in, and they're still in.
Phoenix. Isn't it Phoenix?
Is it Phoenix?
Yeah, it's Sean Page's team.
Yeah.
No, these guys play it down at Murray Field.
Oh, Moreton Bay.
Moreton Bay.
Yeah.
So, they don't have one full-time employee. So when all these things come in,
How do they
somebody
deal?
has to, and that was one of his excuses. I said, well, it sounds to me like they shouldn't be in this.
Yeah, if they haven't got the structure.
They don't have the administrative structure to do it.
But surely the governing body should be helping the people that pay for their salaries and pay for their due diligence, because that's what associations do. And that's what their members are doing. You're paying money. Okay, Queensland Basketball, help me as an associate, because you want to grow the game. Help me understand the financials. What do I need to understand from an administration perspective, coaching perspective? Because there's no point them having a team that's going to get flogged by 100 points a game and 2 people turn out to watch it.
So
there's no point.
So here's one of my, we can all see, problems and identify where it's not working. Here's an idea that I think we should look at, and that's the NBL1 Masters.
I like that.
You know how we got I never really got into Masters, but it wouldn't have to be full home and away, be home or away or something like that. But I see a lot of guys with a bit of time on their hands, a bit of money in their pocket, and they love the game. You go down and watch the Masters boys. I go down sometimes and watch them elbow the shit out of one another, and then sit down and have a beer afterwards and talk about the good old days. And
Absolutely.
it cracked me up watching it.
I think
So
they
what do you
had...
see as a Masters? What is that?
Well, I don't know exactly what it looked like, but it's something like, you got to have an average age of 40 on the court or something, right? And they travel with the NBL1 team. They fly up. And then the home team, the host team, they play before them, and the women, they supply them with a box to sit in and watch the game. Those guys are probably going to spend more on booze than everyone else in the stadium. They'll be there all afternoon.
So they'll pay for
trouble.
themselves.
They pay for themselves. They fund some of the NBL1 stuff.
I thought
as well.
they did something down in Melbourne with Adam
They're
Gibson.
Masters games.
No, they did some other little tournament that David Anderson and those guys all played
Well,
in.
there's that. The
Parky
tournament.
even might have played.
I mean,
Yeah.
most guys that age, I reckon, once every 2 weeks is good fishing. Once your knees have played basketball for so long, but something like that.
Billy, I like your idea.
You know,
like
we need to come up with some ideas
but
to get people and money into the game.
You need to pull that idea together a bit more, but I like it.
And flesh it out.
Yeah.
I'll send a
But the other one I know you put forward is NBL State of Origin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Instead of an all-star game.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, so but
You
how,
know it makes
because
sense.
we've got so many states, how do
Yeah.
you, because basketball's national,
Yeah.
so State of Origin is Queensland versus New South Wales, how do you do it?
It's just like it's the, you know, there'd be 8 teams.
And it's a tournament.
It's just a tournament. It's a knockout.
I
Bang.
played in this.
Yeah.
So Curly was the coach. We had Cal Bruton, Andy Blickoffs,
Yeah.
fucking great player. Wayne Carroll, Les Riddle, Smee, Brennan Joyce, Bill Runchie, Larry Senstock, Craig Herbert,
Yeah.
better known as Tammer.
Yeah, yeah.
We went undefeated. So WA had a team, and this tournament was played in New South Wales. So you had South Australia, they were a distant second, New South Wales, Tassie, WA, Queensland. I don't know if Queensland had a team. They did, we killed them. But it was, right now, instead of NBL guys, because this was in 1982,
Right.
the 81. I
So
don't know,
were we
I got a
still
photo
club
of it.
championships then? Or we had an NBL then?
They had club championships. I think those things finished in 80.
Yeah.
Because the NBL started in 79. But
Yeah.
this was a state of origin.
Yeah.
So every state picked their all-stars.
Yeah.
Dave Leslie was playing in Victoria, but he originally came out and played for the Sydney Supersonics. He played for Sydney. Who else? I mean, it was Brad Dalton was playing for New South Wales because that's where he originated. It was, we're getting up there. It was good. It was good basketball. It was, of course, this is before it's all associations. We're playing in Alexandria and down at Parramatta's venue.
I mean, we've got to find a time for it as it is. You know, NBL runs into NBL 1 and people are going overseas and that, and they're all professional players, so you'd want to play them. But I'd love to see, that's what we love about under 20 nationals and the under 18 nationals. It is us against everybody else.
It makes sense.
I just think it's that's what we want to do. We want to go and show off our talent.
I want to ask you another question. As I said earlier, I think you're an aficionado on Australian tournaments, and I know like they just had the carnival, Australia Carnival in Maroochydore.
Yep.
And Bundy used to have an Easter carnival.
Yep.
I still
did a couple of them.
think that carnival mentality is a wonderful thing. Now I know it's hard when you start talking about players that are, NBL players and the insurance and blah blah blah. But instead of being under 18, 8th division and having a rep jacket and the coach of that team having a coach jacket, they could be playing in tournaments. And I don't know how we get a bit more of that happening because, yes, it's just the joy of the game. And that's where you meet.
Yeah.
This is that life thing about stop thinking that we're all going to win the NBA championship. And winning is great because it's the journey of winning. But it's also the journey of participating with mates and us sitting here as old as we fucking are, still telling stories, and we repeat our stories when we have beers and all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure a lot of people listening are doing the same thing with their peers. And what are your thoughts on carnivals?
Yeah, well, I just love seeing some of the people that I've been involved with over time who are putting teams together and go and play. Like some of the girls, Anna Cameron gets a team together with a bunch of, that looks like her uni mates and different clubs. And they all get together and go and play. But New South Wales, I felt like we would play in the local club comp to stay in touch for carnivals.
Yeah.
And every carnival was run differently. I don't know how. My first carnival in Queensland, it was like you guys did carnivals on absolutely, just
Every long weekend.
well, no, they were on steroids up here.
Right.
So We used to play at Nowra and various different places, but sometimes you'd turn up and everyone was in a pool, and you'd play your pool games. Whoever won the pool would play A grade, and you're playing for like $2,000, or you play B grade and you're playing for $200 or something like that. We turned up. We had with the Ginninderra Rastas, we called ourselves, turned up down at Maruya, and the first game we're playing some team from Bomaderry, and I look over on the other court, and sure enough, here are the Dalton boys, Mark and Brad, and they're playing, and I'm like, boys, we got to lose, because if we end up in A grade, we are not taking a cent home.
Yeah, because they're big.
So we tanked it and played B grade, and won B grade, and I think in the final
But
we
are they
played
just
another
great
bunch
memories? It's just
There's a tournament this weekend, is there not?
That was
it's in Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, so I went up when I went to the Australia Day Carnival. That was the first. I was working out west of Mackay.
Yep.
And I went in and played for
At Cotton Tree.
No, this was up at Mackay, Australia Day.
Okay.
Yeah, and I went in and played with the team with Scheibner, Brian Allen, Bartlett from Newcastle, and we turn up, and there's who's going to win it? Leroy, Bill Ward. These guys are there, and I'm like, this is serious. So we go and we play a game, and it's good basketball. And after the game, it's like, right, let's go and have a beer. And I'm like, we've got another game this afternoon, and this is what you guys did. And it's the same. I went to Bundaberg carnivals. Everyone plays, and then
There's an
beer.
event on the Saturday night, and
Yeah.
there's still games on the Sunday.
Those
function.
tournaments. So we had Swan Hill was huge.
Oh, yeah.
Wangaratta.
Yeah.
I think that was at Easter.
Hey,
Warrnambool.
let's-
Australia Day weekend.
Yeah.
Hey,
Warrnambool.
can you announce our email address again, because you do it really well, but you speak, your phonetics are better than mine, because
Yeah.
I'd love our listeners to share us their thoughts on carnivals.
Our email address is violations and insults, all letters, @gmail.com. Please let us know.
.au.
Is it .au or .com?
No, it's .com.au.
So here's a good thing, a little anecdote about the Australia Day Carnival at Maroochydore. I played up there in a team with Ron Radcliffe.
That's right. That's the first time
You
I
might
saw.
have played in the same team.
And we were playing on the outdoor court. Said I wasn't in the team. I was against. So Ronnie had arrived in
Yeah.
Australia. He just arrived, and it was on the outdoor courts at Cotton Trees. There were some games in an indoor court.
Well, we were playing indoor in that the old court there, and I wasn't a great ball handler as a point guard. And at one stage, he said to me, he goes, we're playing together, and he said, look, you don't have to dribble it up every time, battling against people. He said, chuck it up to these guys. If they want to shoot it, they will. If they don't, they'll give it back to you. And it was one of those great pieces of advice someone gave me. It's like, just pass it up to them.
Ronnie the Rat.
The
was
game
just
evolved to that.
very simple. He's just what a legend human, Ron Radcliffe.
Grafton.
The
Yeah,
graft.
great carnival.
Great tournament.
Great carnival, and still going. And there's probably bucket loads going.
Were you playing the year we got kicked out with Wakeley and the pig?
No, and at Grafton.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
That was, I can't remember his name, he was playing for Canberra, and we were having a shower after the game, played against, just sitting talking, and he went to the same school as Pop Dickerson.
Yeah, right.
I can't remember what his name was, but, and Mick said to him, oh, Clarence. And he said, oh, you can't call him Clarence. Apparently all through school, it was like if you called him Clarence, he would get upset, and he doesn't care. He's, oh no one could call him Clarence. Well, like, Clarence.
Clarence.
Funny story, so yeah.
Hey, this has been a great chat. Absolutely awesome
Have we
chat.
stayed
And,
on target?
and look, there's still lots. I love that Billy how organises Dr. William.
He is
It's
a
unreal.
well-prepared man.
Yeah, but just the essence of how we like our viewers to keep it a time, right? Well, I just want to go through the games for this next.
Yeah, let's
round.
do that. Yeah.
So, remember, Bruce, the team that I say first.
Is the home team.
That's correct. Okay, so Tonight we've got Tassie Illawarra. Who are you going, Bill?
I just think there's some problems in Illawarra. I think he's going to put the screws on him.
Oh, you reckon they're going to react to it?
Well, I think they're not going to get over the hurdle. I think Tassie's going to cause an upset there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Illawarra will take care of Tassie. But this is all about you, not me.
Yeah.
Okay. Adelaide, Brisbane.
Well, I think
You have here Schuler's suiting up.
He's going to suit up. They're that short that Justin will be seen on the court, and unfortunately,
Bringing a big body in.
Yeah, I was going to say he's
They got
wearing
some
a large
injuries.
singlet.
Look. Hey, look, they're going to struggle. Just numbers.
Okay.
Jeez.
They peter out the longer
it's
the
just
game
so
goes.
tough, yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes me think, just for a little quickly, talk about something I'd never heard of, is delayed concussion.
Oh, yeah.
And the symptoms of delayed concussion, I thought I'd look it up.
Sure.
Well, yeah. And so you delayed concussion, and I think I got punched in every single game of basketball and football I played in the 80s and 90s. But here is some, and I may have delayed concussion right now. I didn't realise it, but because you can have dizziness, brain fog, headaches, ringing in the ears, sensitivity to noise and light, irritable, difficult paying attention.
describe
For our male guy, erections, do they just happen to...
Well, you know,
Apparently.
yeah, apparently as you get older, they're a little bit more difficult. But I'd never heard of delayed concussion. Anyway, let's move on.
Yes, go on.
Perth, southeast Melbourne.
Look, just want to see Sammy Mack win every week, but I think Perth stinging after a loss. They're just
They
not
should
going
have
to
won
be.
that game, but God,
Well, if Windler's back,
Windler's tough.
yeah. So
Okay, New Zealand, Cairns.
Cairns. It's going to be, we're going to be talking about what could have happened in Cairns. Like, they can go. So,
Well, I think Adam Ford's got himself locked in again, but good on him.
yeah.
Is that a good thing for Al?
Melbourne, Tasmania.
Yeah, well, I think that after beating Illawarra, Tassie are going to be on the drink all week in between the games.
Yeah.
There's going to be some discussion about professionalism, and I think Melbourne's going to get them.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sydney, Perth. It's in Sydney, Bruce.
Well, yeah.
Sydney, Perth. Well, I'm Gorge is my mate. Billy Tomlinson's my mate. I have an affinity with them. I want to see them do well. I didn't think they played particularly. They're up and down like the proverbial brides. 90, are they not? Huh? They up and down. And I'm not a big fan of. Look, Bryce Cotton's special. Adams is special offensively. He had 43.
43 and lost.
In a loss with 26 shot attempts.
Yeah.
I'm not that big of a fan. I'd love to see him defend, right, a little better, put a little greater effort in his defense. But I hope Sydney win.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though we're John really fans too here, right, Bill?
I think it'll be a tough game. And Johnny is in fantastic shape as a coach. Just mentioning.
Yeah,
Yep.
not carrying any. So is Boy Gorge.
He still runs around. John.
John?
He still gets a few shots up.
He didn't. He didn't suffer enough significant injuries during his playing days.
I tried to tackle him. You could always get away from him.
was cagey.
Southeast Melbourne, Adelaide, last game of the round.
Yeah, I think they're fisticuffs in the Adelaide locker room. I think there'll be trouble there when they get back.
Mate, to me, Adelaide, like a box of chocolates.
Yeah.
You never know what you got to get. But they have the ability to beat anyone.
Yeah.
And to me, the key to that is Matthews, who's playing well, and they're big. So all the craziness of Monster, right? And then you bring that calm Jamal Martin comes off the bench.
Yeah.
He's good, and he's taken a while to get himself
Fit that role.
Yeah, but they're big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got crazy shooting from,
Alphabet soup starting with a V.
yeah, but and then their guard Kendrick Davis is special.
He's special.
Mate, he is nearly averaging 8 assists a game as well as 25 points.
Can I also say Humphreys is
He's got
efficient.
Yeah, oh, mate,
Well, I think South East Melbourne is hungry. I watched that team play, and I think their young kid that they've been playing he's in that, when kids come in and then you start... Foxwell.
Yeah.
I think he looks now like he really belongs.
Wiz Camp has found his mojo and he's helping them big time. I mean, that's a really good roster as well. So if you want to put some money on who could win the competition, both Southeast and Adelaide could. On any given
No
day.
one's sticking out like doggies to you, huh? Like who sticks out to you?
I mean, if I was going to put my money where my mouth is, I still think Illawarra in a series are going to be very competitive just from their defensive capabilities. But I think it's going to be Illawarra or Melbourne for me. But if you want to go put some money on some out there, I reckon if you put some money on Adelaide and Southeast, they have the ability to beat anyone. Both those teams on it. That's even without Walton Jr.
Yeah, I just think if Melbourne United are all playing to their ability, I can't see them losing. When if you stop one, you stop Goulding. If you can slow him down, that's one thing. But if Jack White's shooting the ball well, it's such a difficult matchup. Yeah, and in those big games, our man Dellavedova does big things. He's not a guy who stands out in easy wins. He wants the ball in his hands, and he can get it done. 3 coaches sitting and have a chat, you would pick Dellavedova in every single team. If your coach just said, "Can I have Delhi?" You'd be just like, "Can I?" "Yes, please." And someone go, "Oh, he's got an ugly shot." "Oh, go fuck off!" Right? I mean, his shot does he shoot as well as Goulding? No, but fuck me. He gets in the paint. He'll shoot over 7'6", bloody taco, because he's big and he knocks down a reasonable amount of threes,
John Giovanni, who is a big scout for the NBA, when Delhi came out of St. Mary's, right, he was saying he is the best point guard, and I don't think Delhi got drafted. He made it, but as reading off pick and roll, making the right decision, he was the best of that graduating class. I can't remember who else was there.
Mate, his passes up to White and Lee and stuff on the rim, he's got a guy in his jockstrap where he's just bringing the ball down the court and then he just goes flip and it's just on the money.
Did he go through with Mitch Young? Were they the same year?
Yes, he was before Patty.
So one of my biggest...
Or was he? No, he was after Pat. Pat Mills also played at St. Mary's.
Like, it was really disappointing for us when we found out that Delhi came from Maryborough, not Queensland. It's
Maryborough, Victoria.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Teasing us with that.
The greatest to come out of Maryborough is Larry Sandstone.
Not Laurie
Queensland?
Maryborough,
or Victoria?
Queensland.
Yeah, geez, Maryborough, it's just there.
I mean, Larry's pretty good.
Laurie Green.
Oh, the big loss.
I got to think that Delhi's folks, because that's kind of right between Ballarat and Bendigo, that they would have done an awful lot of driving.
Yeah.
Right? There's a commitment. When you look at a guy like Delhi, you look at all these guys, mom and dad put a lot in.
There's not a athlete on the planet in any sport that hasn't had mum and dad, school help them get where they are. But listen, we want to keep this tight.
Okay.
Can you tie it? Would you? Because you're fantastic.
Do you want to tie this into a bow?
Yeah. Can I just sit and then you tie it?
Okay.
I want to thank Billy. I've really enjoyed the chat.
Damn it, I wanted to thank Billy.
Well, you can thank him too, Dick. Mate, great chat. I could keep chatting for hours with you, which is easier, and that means we'll have you back again somewhere to talk about some of the topics we haven't got. But, mate, you were a great teammate, and you've been a great friend. It's great to have you on.
Oh, yeah, love talking to you guys. So thanks
you,
for
Bill.
having me. Yeah.
Yeah, let's tie this into a bow. Are we going to have dumplings?